We have the information on our website, which is hrawards.org. You can go there and see the applications. I think Mary and company are going to talk a little bit about the application process. And basically, you are letting your HR team know that they are valued and that that you guys are an employer of choice. It's good recognition for your company. And the event itself is on November 13th. It's at the Crystal Tea Room in Philadelphia. It's from 5:30 to 9 p.m. We usually get like a who's who of HR, usually around 300 people in attendance, a lot of networking, a lot of good times. So we encourage you to attend. Again, there's no cost to apply. Companies can self-nominate themselves. You don't have to wait for someone to nominate you, or any consultant or vendor to HR can nominate you. There's no limit to the number of categories you can apply, and so in addition to the HR Awards award, there are 8 or 9 different excellence categories, including talent acquisition and talent management and total rewards. So you can apply to any of those, and applications are judged by an esteemed group of HR leaders. A lot of them are former winners. The categories, as I mentioned, are total rewards, employee relations, technology, etc. You can get all that on hrawards.org. I just want to thank our partners. There's a lot of work that goes behind this program, so I just want to thank Challenger Gray and Christmas, represented by David Panett, Marsh McLennan Agency, which is represented by John Ford, Scott Rosen, representing the Rosen Group, and Trilogy Talent Advisors, John Tui. So we have a great group of partners running the program. We also have additional sponsors. We have Kelly Benefit Strategy. We have Gwen here to represent Kelly, and we're very excited as a diamond sponsor. We also have Comcast and First Trust Bank. And then we have our silver sponsors, which include Career Minds, Contemporary Staffing, Double Star, Gallagher, represented here today by John Chain. We have Hub, and we have Meditation for Leadership, which is Steve Cohen. We also have bronze sponsors, which include the Bancorp, Neurodiversity Employment Network, PECO, thank you guys, and PSTS, which is the Philadelphia Society of People and Strategy. So we want to thank all of our sponsors for all your hard work. So, all right, next I'm going to bring up Gwen, who is going to introduce Mary and team, and you're in for a really solid presentation, and good luck to you guys.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Gwen Bruce from Kelly Benefits, and let's introduce PECO. Today, we're pleased to feature the HR team from PECO, led by Mary Walker. Last year, PECO won the HR Department of the Year Award in recognition of their best-in-class approach to advancing their HR mission. About today's team, Mary Walker is the Vice President of Human Resources for PECO. She's a highly sought-after strategic business partner who specializes in human resources and delivering progressive talent solutions. Mary has over 25 years of experience leading organizational transformations. Over the course of her career, she has worked in talent acquisition and talent management functions to deliver innovative solutions to her many clients in the areas of strategic program management, career management, succession planning, performance management, organizational development, workforce development, and employee labor relations. She has also overseen the process of candidate attraction and selection, employee development, and the retention of human capital. Today, she's joined by Emily Avery, who is the Fitness for Duty Manager for PECO. Emily also provides the governance and oversight for Exelon's Fitness for Duty programs. Also, Kelly DeCurtis, the Director, Talent Management and Leadership Development. Monica Moody-Wren, Director of Human Resources. And finally, Kimberly Smith, Senior Manager of Talent Acquisition. Please welcome Mary and her team.
Well, thank you, everybody. We are super excited to be here. Just wanted to start off by thanking Mark McLennan for being our host today, And to the HR Department of the Year Awards team, they've done just a phenomenal job at recognizing the talent that HR has. It hasn't been done at this level and with this level of excellence that I've seen. I just want to tell them how thankful I am for that. We also really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about our journey and where we are as an HR team. So with that, I'd like to start off with just telling you a little bit about who PECO is. And then I'm going to have my team talk a lot about not just the experience, but how we use HR data-driven storytelling and telling our outcomes and impact to help drive the business forward. That's where I think you get the most, I would say, the best experience from this opportunity, because you get to tell your story through the eyes of someone else that doesn't know you, an organization that doesn't know you. So that was a big highlight for us. So I'm going to start off with who we are, and then I'm going to kick it over to the team to talk about their respective areas, but also how their work in HR drove business outcomes and impact. And that, you'll hear me say that a lot throughout the day, because that's what's important. Counting widgets from HR doesn't give you the impact that you want to have on the business. Outcomes and impact. So for PECO, we are a utility servicing Philadelphia area and the 4 counties surrounding it. We provide electric and gas to about 2.5 million customers. We also have about 3,000 plus, slightly over, employees. And for us, we're part of the Exelon family of companies, and our mission is to power a cleaner and brighter future for our customers and for our community. That's our vision. That's our mission. What it means to me, and how you make it real for yourself and your company's mission and vision, is powering a cleaner and brighter future. That starts with our people. Our people are the people that power how we get electric and gas to all of our customers. And with our people, that means we need to create an environment where they feel safe, they feel valued, seen, heard, and respected in the workplace, so that they can bring their whole selves to work, have a sense of belonging, and that they're attached to something. And the work that we do with each of the functions of the members of my team helps create that connectivity for our employees. And then you'll also hear the team talk about our customers in our communities and how we support the mission and vision to make sure that comes to life. So without our people, we don't get to see powering a cleaner and brighter future for our customers and communities if we don't do the work behind the scenes. Now, HR is a huge enabler, but the business outcomes are what matters. And that's what we found in going through this journey and telling our story. So I appreciate the opportunity to kick it off. We'll be saving some time for some Q&A at the end. But at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Monica to take us through our approach.
Good morning, everybody. And really, as Mary said, we're glad and grateful to be here. And we are going to talk a lot about our business outcomes and our impact. And as we began the journey last year for this award, we really wanted to talk about how we wanted to show up, telling our story beyond just the widgets and the numbers, and really the impact that we have to the business. So we needed to be ready to demonstrate our knowledge of our data, but not just our data, our trends. We're a learning organization. We're a growing organization. And knowing our data and trends is really important. Not just us, but for our teams to be able to go out and connect within our workforce, as Mary said, which is 3,000 employees and leaders, and how we help to shape the leaders in the work that they do. Who are we benchmarked against? How are we aligned? Again, we're part of a bigger story. We're in the Exelon umbrella, but understanding good is great, but great is even better. And continuing to just always challenge ourselves in terms of what we're doing and how our data shows that. Our community is twofold. It's our internal community, but it's also our external community, the communities that we serve. So our internal community, that's our clients. Going out and understanding, are they getting what they need? Are we showing up our best as their line partners day to day? But also having the community not just see us as the utility company, they're certainly obligated to pay us for the services that they provide. But being out there in the community, in our volunteer efforts, that is such a proud moment for us when we're volunteering, because it's one of our core competencies. We volunteer in the communities we serve. They see us, they understand us, we can engage with them, shoulder to shoulder. And our opportunities come out of that in terms of bringing additional folks into our workforce so that we truly show up and demonstrate that we look like the communities that we serve. The company strategy and meeting business objectives is always important. So we're really out there with the business, understanding not just what they need in terms of HR services, but what are their goals? What are they striving to achieve year in and year out, and how we can contribute to those successes that they're striving for. And then finally, it's really being a connected HR team. Each of us sitting here at the table, as you all heard, and we'll hear more about it later, really leads a different function of HR, but we really drive a one HR experience, a one HR team mindset, so that we're, aligned in terms of the support that we're offering to the business. So again, trying to continue to tie it back to the communities that we serve and the internal partners that we have to keep the business successful. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim now to talk through some of the steps that we went through in terms of the data that we used and how we gathered it.
So as we talk about data gathering, we got to be honest, it wasn't always easy. We don't do good work, right? But how do we always quantify that, right? And it's challenging. We just do it. We don't always take the time to quantify it. So we had to quickly think about how different measures and what do we put in this application and how do we tell our story. So we worked on gathering the data and we had to demonstrate our impact to the business, right? Worked on refining some of our metrics. I think this was a good exercise for even us to kind of, oh, we do that. Oh, how does that impact the business? Maybe we need to write this down. We need to make sure that we have this for even people coming in the door so that we can really tell our story, right? Because again, we do the work. We don't always reflect back on what that looks like to the business. So we worked on refining our metrics and ensuring that the data demonstrated how we work to support people's strategy and our goals. We utilized the check-in meetings that the committee provides to make sure that we were providing the correct data. And that was really what was needed to get us the award that we got, right? We wanted to make sure that, again, not counting widgets, but it really told the story for PECO. We ensured that our data story aligned with how our CEO would talk about us as a HR organization and gather insights from our CEO for the alignment. The process wasn't just good for the award submittal, but it was also validating our business impact. If I can give you any suggestions, be transparent. Not everything has the impact that you hope it does, but it can help you articulate, where you need to drive improvement. Now, I am going to kick it off to Emily.
I'm just going to talk a little bit about the overall experience. So even though we in HR, we as a team don't celebrate us as often as we probably should, we knew how important we are to the business, and telling that story at times was, I would say, a little nerve-wracking. So we set aside the time. We had quite a few drafts that we worked through. We ensured that our CEO was aligned in what we were communicating, and focused on telling our compelling story. The interview process overall was challenging. I mean, we didn't know what we didn't know. So we were nervous but hopeful, I would say. So it's a nice opportunity to take a step back and review what our impact was on the business, and to celebrate our accomplishments. So again, ensuring that your CEO is aligned, and that you prep your CEO, because they will also be interviewed in the process. And be clear on your overall organizational structure. Some of us have a matrix or non-traditional organizational structure that may not be clear to the committee. So communicating, how you're set up and how that impacts the business. And then, as we instruct the business as leaders, it's our job to articulate how our work ties into the company mission and moves the business forward. I don't have it in front of me. Who's next? Sorry, I think it's next. Okay.
So what we did from there. So you heard a lot around the work that we went into it, the data gathering, the alignment with our CEO, who was extremely supportive of us as a team, but I think we had that on every single slide because that was critically important, right, in this whole process. So going through really what we did for the application, and we've modified some of these slides just to sort of, streamline it down, but this is what went into it. Our HR department has a couple, as Emily loves to say, non-traditional folks in it, but fitness for duty, of course, HR operations, OHS, talent acquisition, and talent management. So, those groups, we have to work in harmony with each other, right? And showing that connection and how we work together was critically important. Our organizational priorities around, how do we advance PECO's culture, right? How are we making sure that we're preparing leaders to be better leaders within the organization and showing that commitment to belonging, which is core to our business, employee engagement, and talent development. Driving that leadership accountability that, it's not just HR championing these things, which sometimes that winds up happening, right? But making sure the whole business is championing that equitable employee experience through engagement, through that transparency that we mentioned already, and enhancing, of course, our position as an employer of choice. So, we want to be seen as strategic business partners. Mary mentioned that in her opening comments, delivering, innovative solutions. It's funny, I was just reading a presentation this morning where, we're just trying to drive that behavior throughout the organization. And how are we doing that in various formats? Remaining an employer of choice, I think we have really great brand engagement in the city. You can't help but notice our building, of course, right? But, do we have that same brand engagement if you go to the Buckstown or Monto, whatever it might be? So making sure we're keeping that in mind wherever we go, and then providing that ongoing commitment to our core values, and making sure we're driving those core values throughout the organization. So that is our overview of us. Mom's going to talk about our community impact. She touched on it a little bit already, but I'm going to dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and it's a big deal for us, and that's one of the areas that excites me a lot, and I think I can speak for my colleagues as well. A lot of folks probably traditionally see HR as in offices behind desks delivering services, but that's not how we want our brand to fully define us, if you will. So we have significant opportunities to be out and about in the communities we serve. So I'll split it even between our internal community, being our client, and our external community. We're out in the business day to day. We're sitting at the strategy meetings. We're out in the field with some of our team members to just have an appreciation for the work that they do so that we can continue to understand the impact they make, but how we partner to make that same impact. But throughout the process, we continue to think about telling our stories in terms of, we get a report, I think it's monthly, Mary, in terms of the number of volunteer hours. So we're not really overly competitive all the time. We even challenge transparency. That's right. Okay, we are. But with that said, looking at the fact that we're part of an organization who reports out, it's a metric for us, and wanting to continue to do even more than we've done in previous years. So challenging ourselves to come up with community events that we sponsor or that we support individually. A number of us that are sitting in front of you, in addition to other members of our team, we're on external boards that make impact, whether it's, in educational, financial, whatever other communities there may be out there. But knowing that PECO is at the table and making contributions and making decisions, going out to events that, the school year, making backpacks for children during the holiday season, making family kits, whether it's hygiene kits or toys or things like that, but just literally getting around in all of the counties, working really closely with our employee engagement, our employee resource groups. They're significant for us. Those communities touch even deeper for us and kind of take out our tentacles and make them even longer. And we're touching more folks in that way. But also really, really good partners with our Organization for Workforce Development. We are so committed to giving opportunities to those in underserved communities, in the communities that we serve, that didn't realize that PECO was this place where they could work. So engaging with workforce development, which touches all of our organizations, ultimately once we're hiring people from the communities. And again, just our commitment to community is also our commitment to safety. We show up, if any of you have ever seen us out at volunteer events, we have a lovely colorful green, really green volunteer shirt, right? You won't miss us out in the community. But we're proud to wear those shirts on whether it's MLK Day of Service, during Women's History Month, during African American History Month, different times that we go out in the communities that we serve. We are hands-on, we are out there, we are present, and we recognize that that shapes the HR story as well. So it shapes our image as those folks that are not just in the office behind the scenes, but that we're out there in the communities as well. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Emily because, as Kelly described, we're going to talk individually about our respective departments.
I'm going to cover our fitness for duty and occupational health departments. As Kelly just said, more non-traditional functions that don't always sit in HR at every organization. While it may not be typical, the functions that these two groups provide for PECO are extremely important to our HR story and to the business. The primary function of these two departments is to really ensure a safe, healthy, and productive workforce. That relates directly to PECO's mission and goal. So from compliance with federal and state drug-free workplace programs to managing our DOT rules and regulations, Fitness for Duty is responsible for providing professional advice, consultation, strategies, and processes necessary to keep both our employees and the community safe. And along those same lines, Occupational Health Services is dedicated to protecting and promoting the overall health and wellness of our employees with a strong focus on safety. I'm just going to talk a little bit, highlights from each of our teams. For Fitness for Duty, we have departmental certifications and accreditations that help us to ensure the highest standards are met while ensuring the safety of our workforce and, again, the communities that we serve. From a data perspective, Fitness for Duty for us, our main functions are drug and alcohol testing. While it may be required under federal regulations, we also have very strict requirements for those employees who are not fall under the regulations. When I look at it from a data perspective, we consistently fall below what would be the random positivity rate for the industry. So that just shows us that the programs that we're implementing are working. And I can go back a couple of decades and we have no positives on any kind of DOT post-accident testing and things like that. So, it shows that we're committed to safety of both our employees and the community. And we do need to refer employees through our employee assistance program. We have an extremely high percentage of employees that are then integrated back into the workplace to set those employees up for success. And we partner very closely with our talent acquisition and recruiting teams, along with occupational health, for especially our candidates that are coming in that have to meet all of these pre-hire requirements to ensure the best possible candidate experience for those people. And then I'll touch a little bit on occupational health services as well. A very strong focus on maintaining compliance with regulatory physicals and again, ensuring a safe workforce for those employees when they're out on the road and out in the field. Partnering closely with local public health departments to stay up to date in case there are public health emergencies that we would then need to interact with them on. And ongoing partnership with HR operations to manage short-term disability, ADA cases, to best assist our internal clients. And helping employees to maintain their best physical, mental, and emotional health so that they can perform well at work as well as at home.
And Laura, our leader of that group, is happy to join us today. Yeah.
All right, so thanks, Phil. So I do lead the HR operations team, and what you'll hear thematically through our conversations, how we're all just one team department. So I have the group of HR business partners, and we do have a broad span of HR and business expertise, and we serve as strategic business partners and trusted advisors to our PECO and our corporate support organizations across PECO. We center on workforce strategy, talent planning, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, evaluating and resolving labor and employee relations issues, as well as accessing and analyzing data for trends. We partner with client leads to build business consensus, establish trust, and communicate effectively to foster and maintain a robust level of employee engagement. So I often refer to my group as the hodgepodge group because if something's brewing, it kind of gets into our pot some kind of way for resolution. A lot of what we do is we support the hiring processes because we want to support those leaders and or individual contributors that are going to be, added to the team. We're really having good conversations with leaders in terms of what they're looking for. I talked a lot about the voluntary events and the mentoring program that we participate in, nonprofit board and service, the ride-alongs and the shadowings that we do. So it is my expectation that my team is out there quarterly with their leaders, whether it's a ride-around in the field or a side-by-side inside with our clients, to just understand the work that they do and kind of have a day of life. We participate in the hiring panel interviews, particularly for leaders, so that we're getting a good assessment in addition to the business leader in terms of folks that they're adding to their team. We partner with our labor relations team a lot, so we have a good chunk of our workforce that is unionized. So along with that comes partnership that's really necessary with our labor relations partners in terms of all the things that come with being associated with folks that are represented by a collective bargaining agreement. So we do participate in things like grievances, fact findings, consensus calls. Sometimes they lead to arbitration. So it really does give my folks a really vast array of experience in terms of the things that we touch on from a labor relations perspective. We also lead investigations. So we talked a bit earlier about our corporate, commitment to people being safe, quite frankly, doing the right things. But we have a department whereby if people feel like they aren't having those right experiences, we have to do certain investigations that allow us to get to the right conclusions to continue to stand behind what we need to have a work environment where people feel purposeful and included. We have, again, respectful workplace education, some trainings that we do in that space. Kelly talked a little bit about belonging, what that means to people. It looks different for everyone, right? But just making sure that we're out there understanding and appreciating one another in that space. We have diversity councils where we sit down and have discussions about diversity within our organization. And we do some pretty significant leadership training for our senior leaders in particular, whereby they're, really being the strong leaders that we aspire and hope that they will be, and really, if you will walk the walk, talk the talk, and set the tone at the top for how we want our organization to be. So really proud of those folks that are showing on the screen. A bit dated from when we put the application in, but as a highlight as well, I'll share that we all as leaders that sit in front of you really encourage our folks around their own development. So we often call ourselves the shoemaker's children or the papa's children, if you will, because we work so hard to ensure that others are really engaged in getting their employees developed. When you take that look back at, well, what are we doing for ourselves? Encouraging people to move around either within HR or even within the business. So that's dated. Like 2 of those members are no longer on my team, but I have new members that have replaced them, and really excited when we give people new opportunities.
So we're gonna,
It's still within Excellent. Correct. Still having left the company within Excellent. So I will now turn it over to Kat to talk about her team.
All right. So talent acquisition. Talent acquisition really focuses on attracting and acquiring top talent to support the business objectives and delivery of PECO employer brand and recruitment marketing strategy. We partner very closely with our internal stakeholders as well as our external stakeholders to ensure diverse applicants. It's very important for us at PECO. Specifically, we oversee the full recruitment life cycle for all non-exempt craft and management level roles. Roles. We place a major emphasis on finding the best diverse talent and furthering our diversity, equity, and inclusion business objectives. We work to draw from all available talent pools by maintaining relationships with our internal workforce development team and external community partners. Here's, as we mentioned, our outdated team. We have people that moved over to Monica's team, and we have some new people. But I am very proud of my recruitment team. We get, we have a lot of additional hiring that we are focusing on this year, which is really a lot for our small but mighty team. But some of our highlights that we focused on were the amount of early education focus that we really strive for at Exelon. Developing partnerships with some military, with Recruit Military, which is a direct feed, which is great, right? That helps us build our diverse applicant pool. Again, we work very closely with our workforce development team. They help us build those relationships with the community partners. We hired our third cohort of helper apprentices, and that increased our diversity by 42%, 42% with hiring of community partners. So again, we can't thank the workforce development group enough because again, they are a great partnership for us. I think for me, I am very metrics driven and I'm a little competitive. If you haven't guessed from what we've already spoken about, but when I kind of transferred back into this role, the time to fill was a little high in my opinion, right? So really drove that metric down from 82 days to 76 days. And I'm gonna brag a little bit now because we're down to 65 days time to fill. So, it's really, streamlining processes and holding hiring managers accountable, right? So my team has really done a great job with kind of pushing the envelope, holding people accountable. Again, increasing the diversity in the applicant pools. Last year, we implemented a new ATS system, which was a little challenging. I'm not going to, transparency here, right? So again, we had a lot being thrown at us last year, but the team was able to rise to the occasion, get up to speed on this new ATS system. We filled at this time, we had filled almost 200 roles and 385 positions. Again, we partner very closely with the workforce development team to expand our local community partners to fill key roles. And again, as Emily had mentioned, we work very closely with the Fitness for Duty and OHS team to get those new hires in the door. So I'll pass it over to Kelly.
All right, last but not least, so let's talk about the talent management OD department. Mon talked about the hodgepodge. I think that's true of most HR departments. Like, sometimes you go like, how did this line go on my table? But I'm not really sure. But so a lot of hodgepodge that I'll go through here. But really, thinking about talent solutions that help us grow the business, grow the talent, grow our pipelines, right? Making sure we're aligning the talent to the culture strategies, the values, or what we're trying to achieve as a business. Guiding through change. We have a lot of change. I think that's true of any business right now. It's fast, furious, and constant, as our CEO likes to say. We facilitate coaching, mentorship. We run a mentorship program, which is excellent. But really, that one-on-one pleasure, coaching and mentorship to the business is where we spend a lot of our time. We do a lot of assessment work, of course, right? And, working with leaders and making sure they understand their strengths and development areas. And then really thinking about, departmental efforts that really emphasize measurable outcomes. So like, are we able to tell that good story? So like, we'll have the board meeting coming up. Like, how are we able to tell that story? How are we able to leverage data? Not shown on the next slide when we talk about our organizations, we added she's program manager, data analyst, and it's been great, right, to help us tell that story. There's no shortage of data. It's just how we pull it together and tell that really good story. And I highly recommend that as a function because it has helped us a lot. And then, of course, our partnership across the various organizations. So again, on the right-hand side, what is not shown, we added this program manager, data analyst. Our program manager right now role, and again, kind of that hodgepodge, helping the business lead through their onboarding programs. How many times we've heard onboarding isn't great, right? And she's leading through our co-op program. So as much as Kim and team are really responsible for getting those co-ops in the door, we bring about 150 co-ops in every year, and it's quite a lot of program management. So owning that, but then going back to just some of the things we do programmatically, our various conferences that we can and being more strategic about that, right? Conferences can be kind of parties, right? But making sure that we're not, making sure that people are going for the right reasons. Are they going for developmental reasons? Have they gone before? Maybe we need to give somebody else a chance, belonging, right? And like, are leaders engaged, right? Do we even know who's going, to these various events? Really doing a lot with cultural awareness. One of the things we highlighted, we partnership last year with the Welcome Center. I really built a cultural awareness. We have a few programs around that we take part in. The Drexel Scholars Program. So we do a lot with our community relations team as far as they give out scholarships, right? Well, are we bringing those folks in as interns? So they even know what the work is that we do? Do they know what a job at PECO looks like? I mean, if there's something you can probably name the poor job, we have it, right? But do people think of, the folks that they see out making sure their lights are on? Probably. So how do they know what those roles are, and how do we make those opportunities available to them? We talked a lot around those partnerships with various organizations, various schools, various external agencies to make sure that we are getting a good pipeline of folks. And then when folks are in, right, how are we making sure they're developed and supported? We talked about our town hall events, our collaborative events. We do what we call a GROW event, which is basically like career awareness, good IDPs, good all that kind of stuff. So that's coming up for us in a couple of weeks. We have our Emerging Leaders program, as well as many other nomination leadership programs, so that it's not just go sign up for this leadership program. Do folks know why they've been nominated and why they're participating in these programs? And I can go on and on and on, but enhancing our leadership effectiveness through mentoring circles, which really is kind of fun. So you don't feel like the pressure of just one-on-one mentoring. You can kind of have a group mentoring experience. And sometimes that helps also economies of scale. You just need to kind of reach a lot of people quickly. So we're really proud of all that. So all that, that we put forward in our application, so everything that this team has talked about and the impact that we've had to the business is what we really thought about, right? So, how do we quantify it? How do we demonstrate the small and mighty team and the impact that we've had to the business is really what we put into our overall application. Yeah, lessons learned. I think that's just, yeah. Kim, send back to you. I'm sorry.
It says me and Kim.
Oh, yes.
All right, so I'll start off real quick. I'd almost relabel this, we didn't know what we didn't know, right? Which made it even more challenging. I'll say sometimes stressful, but at the end of the road, it was these aha moments, these proud moments of wow, when you're really kind of put in this position to tell your story, albeit in a really different way. It was really a proud outcome. I think I could say on behalf of the whole team, but really learning to be okay with asking more questions up front. I know, I'll say for myself, it's kind of like, I'm just going to jump in and do it. We do presentations all the time. We pull stuff together all the time. But at some point realizing, not the same way we always do it. There's something different about this. So, having the ability to ask questions along the way and to be okay with asking the questions, up front. Like we could have saved us some time. Right? But again, we didn't know what we didn't know.
Yeah, we had multiple iterations of that application, and we went through line by line by line. No, let's take this out. Let's keep it. So again, I think making sure when you have that kickoff call, you're asking the questions, and sometimes you are overthinking it, right? And it's sometimes just making sure that you are telling your story, that you are really highlighting, because again, we just do the work. We can't always tell the story. So, I think this exercise really gives you an opportunity to kind of step back and look at all the work that you are doing. And it was just a great experience. So it really stretched us. I think Juan and I got to know each other a lot better than So, it was just a great experience. And I look forward to seeing improvements 2025.
Thank you.
If I could, I think Juan, thank you everybody. As you can tell, that's why I love my team. All that they do each and every day. They're a little shy at the time. So I got some bragging around business outcomes. They talked about small and mighty. We have 23 people in the HR team covering all 5 of those functions. HR, TA, CM, operations, occupational health, fitness for duty for 3,000 employees. Just let that sink in. All right. So there's a lot being done. And sometimes we move from being strategic to being very tactical and transactional. So you got to wear that hat and pivot back and forth. But how you talk about that throughout this process, I think, was the thing that stretched us as a team the most. I was good, and then they were talking, and I started writing stuff down. So sorry about that. So from an employee relations perspective, right? We talked about powering a cleaner and brighter future for our customers and communities, and how we do our HR work and how that ties back to the mission. I talked about powering the community means powering our people first. From an employee relations perspective, I won't say it, our team within the Exxon family of companies has the fastest and most, we resolve our employee relations complaints, the onesie, twosie that comes in from employees, we resolve them the quickest in our fleet. But that also tells employees, if you have a concern, you can raise it in a safe environment, that we're going to be responsive to it, and then you can get back to the business of doing what you need to do your day-to-day job. That's tying what we do to the business outcomes. With regards, Kim gave you the time to build update, because without our class hires, we are taking some serious, and we've increased our head count over the last few years. Becoming an employer of choice is something that we've always wanted to strive for, and our brand and name gives us an up. But how do we take advantage of that up in the talent and the hiring process? When we do our class hires, we have easily, I think Kim likes to take them down, but sometimes the business wants to leave them up. We can get over 700 applicants for our entry-level class hires.
More like 1,200.
That's like we'll take them down bad. But, and we're like 30, 40 positions, right? So they're super competitive.
Yeah.
But the partnership and ties to the business is the workforce development team, making community, we don't have a team that can do that, but they reach out to all of our local community partners that represent the communities we serve to create that connectivity. So when we post that job, they send it out to the network and listen. So you're enabling the business to help HR do its job and do it very well. So we don't have to spend a lot of recruiting time on those entry-level mechanical type or customer service type jobs, which are our biggest bulk hiring, because we've got that business contact within workforce development that's already kind of shoot it to them. So our recruiters, because there's only 5 of them, 6 of them, 5 in the coordinator, yeah. So there's 5 of them. So when we're fighting for talent like we were, and most of you were, we're trying to fight for some of y'all. Engineers, project managers, data analysts, those difficult to fill roles, that's when our recruiters can focus on trying to source and get applicants for those roles versus working on some of the other roles. So finding out who are those business contacts that can allow you to create those other connections there. Talent development. I am really, really proud. Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong. Upwards of 75% of our roles are filled internally. Not the entry-level class hires, but would you say
75%?
Yes. So lots of promotion, transition, just like we talked about some of our HR partners that transition to other rotations to other roles. But the talent team has built really robust programs to help develop the folks that work within our organization so that they're ready for the next role, so that they can work with the business to understand what they need in their next hires and developing strong pipelines. One of the things that we found out was, a lot of leaders, and you guys will know this, if someone left the company or retired, they want to hire the exact same person to do the exact same thing that the person that did it before them. 90 nods in a row. Good. But our job as HR is to say, wait, so do you need that? Or what do you need 2 to 3 years from now? What is the industry shifts? What are the industry shifts that are taking place? What are the company shifts at mission and vision that have taken place? How do you evaluate whether or not you need a cut and paste, or do you need a cut, paste, and elevate, right? And so having those discussions with your business leaders will allow you to say, wait a minute, you may not need a senior level professional here. And we can't buy engineers, 2, 3 years ago, you couldn't find one, or a project manager. But how do we go back and we build strategies with the business to develop, hire them at the associate level, and let's build the talent. We talk about buy, build, or we talk about it as HR lingo, but how do you make it real? So we said, no, we can't get them, but let's build it And then continuing to look at the ratio of the entry-level ones to the senior-level professionals so that we don't overwhelm our senior professionals, but make sure they've got folks that can help them grow in their careers. That was another big one. We talked about some of the safety and security, empowering up and having folks come and be safe at work. The Fitness for Duty and the OHS team do a really good job because they manage our short-term disability, workers' comp, LTD. Emily is amazing, and not just for PECO, but for all 19,000 employees within Exelon runs our Fitness for Duty program and gives governance oversight and audit features there. So how do you make sure that there's consistency in some of that work? How do you make sure that we have a group of individuals that are safe and able to work and be whole at work at the same time? So, we do all of our medical certifications for all of our drivers internally. That's a lot, right? So we have a certified medical examiner on staff. Again, non-traditional to HR, but it's time having a workforce that's ready and available.
And candidates too.
Oh, that's right. And don't forget all the candidates that we hire, doing all of that work internally. So a ton of work by the team. And one last thing I'll share is another business impact that we had. We talked about over 100 and some odd co-ops and interns a year. At some point, it was just like 100. Now it's like almost close to 150. 150, thank you. And so we sat and said, wait a minute, what's this increase? Do we need to start looking at these jobs differently? If we've got full-time co-ops, we also want to diversify our applicant and pipeline pool. We got to get some summer college interns because not everybody has a co-op shift that will 6 months. But going with leaders and talking about, look, do you need, because you have to talk to them, because like, can I get somebody for 6 months full-time or do I get somebody for 12 weeks full-time? You know the answer every time. Give me the co-op. But does that create an opportunity for us to broaden your horizons around getting different schools, different universities engaged and involved? And we were able to make strides and expand our co-op experience and up our summer intern experiences. What that also allowed us to do is be more competitive. And across Exelon, we knew that we needed to make sure that we had people that can come into the organization, but also, what are we doing with them when they're there? You can let them go back to school, but then you got hiring managers like, oh yeah, that was good. Like a year later, they don't remember. We moved to a model where before you leave, if you're performing well, we make you an offer before you leave. Whether it's a return internship or when you hire your senior to graduate the next year. That's changing the dime and flipping kind of HR on its head. And we've seen a lot of progress. We kind of slow to get it started, but this year,
I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I think we're going to be probably in the next week or so around 20 that we've worked so far this year.
That's right. Before they go back to school, they know where they're coming to afterwards. So just some things, just organizational agility, embracing change, and embracing change quickly is going to be key. And then also kind of navigating the unknown with a fierceness that, let's take it and continuing to challenge the business, I think, are the things that I would say will throw the best and largest business outcomes for us. So I want to make sure if there's Q&A.
There are some questions from our webinar audience. So first question. First of all, I just want to give a shout out to HR Computes. They're a sponsor that I failed to mention in the presentation. So, and I think what is your company? John Stewart is with Rippling. So I think I may have mentioned. So one question is, what is your budget for training, learning, development on average per employee? They're hitting you. That's a metrics question.
Yeah. It's a great question. We don't have a centralized budget.
Okay.
So that's an interesting model. And so we really do rely on the business. So everything is charged back. So everything that we do, we have to get the buy-in up front. Make sure that they are, it's meeting the needs of the business, and then they, will stop hands and say, yes, we approve. So we have no centralized budget.
Great, thank you. The next question is how much of your training for leadership and teamwork is done internally versus sending to external programs or having outside consultants?
Yeah, probably 95% is done internally.
Internally,
yeah.
Okay, great. And then from Christina Cole from HR Computes, how are you leveraging HR technology and or AI to support your data-driven approaches to drive impact?
Yeah, so.
Hey, go for it.
Yeah.
So the AI thing has been very, very interesting. And so we have a running list now on my whiteboard of like, where can we start to think about using AI? I don't think we're leveraging it as effectively as we could. But I will say in areas that it has really helped us, synthesizing data has just been huge for us.
Right.
Employee surveys, right? We all did it. So, figure 3,000 employees, let's figure, how many comments that we get. So I used to sit in bed with my highlighter and highlight and whatever. And I still do that because you want to hear the voice, but like being able to take those themes and get that centralized down and like synthesized down saved us weeks worth of work, right? And so like on that, we were like, where else can we start to do this better? So Mary just talked about the interns and co-ops and this program shift that we really have pushed hard this year. We had leaders go and fill out for 150 spots. What were the goals? What did they want these folks working on? What pick the things? What schools did you want us to look at? You name it. Well, it was a big giant spreadsheet, right? Well, so our data analyst was able to then just be like, okay, let me synthesize this down. How many interns? How many co-ops? What schools? Blah, blah, blah. And what would have taken us probably a long time saved us a lot of time. I think we have opportunity in areas of like onboarding to do better with AI, quite frankly. And that's an area we'd like to look into, like how do we go and find all these great stories? We have how the business works, right? Presentations everywhere, right, Juan? But like how can we just make it in a centralized area so we can answer the question of it, right? So we have ideas, but we're still in the starting phases. But
As are most companies.
Yeah.
We have Nina. We rolled out earlier this year. Nina is our HR chatbot that answers like policy, procedure questions, so an employee can go in, if so-and-so died, is they eligible for bereavement or vacation days, etc. So we have Nina as a chatbot, and we have Copilot that's available for our use internally for AI as well.
Yeah.
Great. So I want to just flip back over to our live audience here. Anybody have any questions for our esteemed panel here?
Yeah, I just you mentioned technology. AI. Do you guys do that in-house or do you have it's all in?
So we use Copilot, right?
You Copilot, yeah. So you prompt Copilot.
Yeah.
You mentioned it on like AI. How?
Yeah.
Like, in what way?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what we're finding a lot of times, what we hear in onboarding is, one, there's the whole pre-boarding, right? And we segment out, right? And we think we do that pretty well. Always have room for improvement. Orientation, we think we do really well. When they get to the business, we have like the checklist, right? Leaders are supposed to go through. But what we're finding is the biggest gap is just understanding how we actually operate as a business. And all of us have complex businesses, I'm sure, right? Like, if somebody were to say, how do you make money at PECO? It's not an easy answer, right? So what we're trying to get to, and again, this is one of the projects we're going to be looking at, is how do we get all these various presentations, right? We'll have our ERGs, we'll do how we make money, how does line workers, how the gas guys work, that sort of thing. And like get that into one centralized place where somebody can just go ask that question. Hey, and let me understand, how does the gas business work? And be able to pick that up, right? And if we could get to that, it could be much more self-serve versus, hopefully this employee went and attended that ERG event that talked about gas 101 or whatever it is. So that's how we're thinking about it. And, being able to keep that in one area because you can program your bot to be like, just go here and look at this information. I know what I'm talking about, but people might even know what they're talking about. But so that's what we're thinking about. It's really around that how do we actually work this?
All right, so it's after the tactical stuff, I'm sure should you do.
Yes. Yes.
You got to think, where does that data come from? Who's doing what? How does it?
Exactly.
Cool. Thanks, John. Yes.
Yeah, I think the employee research. I wanted to know, are they modeled in a specific way? Are there goals for your group? Is there one that, or a few that jump out to you that are really well staffed?
So I think for me, and following our EMPs, our improvement work group, right? Trying to stay with, the times, if you will. The one core mission that they do have for everyone is that everyone is welcome. As we all know, the employee network groups have a certain definition, right? Whether it's our African American Alliance group, whether it's our Latino group, etc. but everyone is welcome. They are tied to the goals of the company. A lot of what they do is tied to development in terms of, people joining and they set events together. I think what I've been proud of in terms of from an evolutionary perspective over the years is that they put together joint events, right? So people aren't just working or connecting in silos, but rather just focused on things that they can do, more collectively. We have, they showcase, monthly, some, whether it's African American History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, Women's History Month, etc. But they also have boards. The boards are set up somewhat similarly. Some are called, officers, some just lead committees or boards, but they also have to report up through our corporate diversity, equity, inclusion office for accountability is how I describe it, right? What are you going to do? They all, and Mary, keep me straight here, this year, over the last year or so, we've really gotten much cleaner and aligned around budgetary. Like everybody getting essentially the same amount of dollars that are allocated to spend, and spend it wisely. Because there had been, some conversations about some groups getting more than others, but we want to have from the standpoint the ability for everybody to have a solid amount of dollars. We do have a good structure where we hold vice presidents accountable as part of their role. They're having executive sponsorship for groups, so people have again, accountability model, a reporting structure where they're being held accountable. So what are you guys doing and making sure that you're reporting through. Does that help answer the question? Great.
Question.
Sure.
Yeah, we have time for like one or two questions.
Thank you. I'm interested if there's anything in this process that you're like, I want to do more of this, or perhaps something that you decided, I want to broaden the understanding of this topic to your broader audience, because you're a part of a much larger organization. So I'm just trying to understand the impact. You talked about how important your leadership partnerships are. So anything that you can share in terms of, wow, we really want to take this to the next level, or this is something we might want to share in best practice more broadly.
I'll jump in and my team feel free to go when I add anything. HR data-driven storytelling decision. We did it, but we didn't know we were doing it. But we got better throughout this process around understanding what the data was telling us and then helping to drive business outcomes. And now doing an analysis on our income, doing an analysis on how to reduce our time to fill, doing an analysis on et cetera. So, sometimes you get anecdotal feedback and that can be the narrative, but let's back it up with facts. If you can't get engineers, you can't get project managers. They keep defining our offers. All right, let's start attracting when people define our offer. Did they say this was a rate that they would take at the beginning, and then when we got to the offer letter and at the altar, and they're like, no, give me more. Okay, so we didn't make a miss there, right? So kind of making sure we continue to dig into the deep data and the why behind it, and then continue to take those lessons learned and bring them back.
Take one more question.
Just a wrap. Take me through to the day after. So we got back to the office.
They were
I want to call with the larger organization of HR professionals, held up the awards and bragged.
Little internet good.
All right. Very excited. Okay, so that's a wrap. So thank you, everybody. And thank you to our esteemed panel here. And I just wanted to, very impressive. I didn't see the whole story until you just did it right here. So I can see why the judges chose you for the award. And just having every one of you go through each of your functions, I can see the business aspects and the business commitment to everything you guys do. But I could also see the caring part of it too, which is probably one of the reasons that you won. As HR is not just about numbers, processes and programs. It's about do you care about this company. So thank you, Mary and the company. We really appreciate it. And I don't know, there were like 5 or 6 more questions, so maybe we can forward them to you. We can
Be happy
figure out a
to.
way to send them. Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.